Breaking barriers. Breaking barriers.
Good evening, everybody. Look at me. I'm so pretty. This is Breaking Barriers, right? And, got three beautiful people here. And, man, it was getting lively before the show started. And we're not talking Blake Lively. And is she taller than Ryan Reynolds? Somebody Google that. Ooh, I think so. Or, no, her sister is for sure. This is Breaking Barriers with Dino Moore, Kimberly Kay, and Amani Wells is here with you tonight. And us. I'm Revolution McInnes, and we are going to get into it about Elon, Musk. We are going to get into it about a lot of great topics tonight. And Dino, set us off, my friend.
Hello. Thank you, Rev. I want to start us off with new and now. And since tonight is going to be a very 45 heavy night, I'm going to have Kim start us off with what's in the world of Twitter, which is Kimberly K Land. Tell us what's going on over there.
Well, actually, before we get any of that started, I don't know if you guys that are watching, maybe Rev and Dino, being as that they're stuck in the land of male things tonight. We'll get to that another time. They forgot that we have a very special person that has just joined the Dig on America team. So they just skipped right over the biggest part of this evening, which is Amani. Yes, but we want to get familiarized. We like a little political foreplay, a little conversational foreplay. Have you? So I would just like to give a little bio and welcome Amani to the podcast before we have to dig deep into this, and also kind of like throw her in by baptizing her in the waters of all that is Dino and Rev. So I'm just going to get a little bio here as we get started. For our live viewers, thank you for joining us, and also those that are catching us on the playback. Amani Wells is how do you pronounce your last name, sweetheart? Sorry.
Anyoha.
So Amani Wells Anyoha. Okay, got it. That is a lot. That is beautiful, though. Amani Wells Anyoha is a political expert, civil rights advocate, and thought leader. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, Amani found her passion for politics during her time at University of North Texas. After completing her master's in journalism, Amani worked for the Democratic Party in Dallas, a Texas state representative race, Dallas district attorney races, and for the coordinated campaign of Texas Democrats, including Beto O'Rourke's race. We love Beto. After the murder of Trayvon Martin, Amani understood stopping something like that from happening again would require systematic and institutional change. So she committed herself to making an impact on her local and national communities, now working with Soul Strategies, spelled like SOLE Strategies, as their operations director. She is the engine behind progressive candidates who are seeking to uplift underrepresented communities and change the system. She's represented clients like Ahmaud Arbery's family lawyer, attorney Lee Merritt, whom I follow on Instagram, and just a phenomenal human. Mayoral candidate India Walton, City Councilman Daniel Carlino, and City Councilwoman Lauren Ryder, among others. So, Amani, welcome to the podcast. And what a phenomenal resume. I can't even imagine your personal life. So just wanted to just quickly welcome you. And before we do jump into new and now and our topic, just ask you, it sounds like there's a lot that drove you here that we can get into later, and why you decided you wanted to be a part of the things going forward with change. But why did you particularly choose right now as the time to get involved and to be a part of the podcast and the movements and all that you're doing?
Well, I think just since 2016, particularly, the political world has kind of been on like a downward spiral to God knows where. So it was kind of extremely important now more than ever to get activated and to find people who can be representatives that actually care about their constituents, that care about their district, that actually advocate locally, do the work, have those community connections, organize, and are really trying to change things because, corruption is afoot. There's a lot of people who get into this work for the wrong reasons, for ego, for clout, just to say that they are a senator, a congressperson, whatever. So it was really important now for us to just kind of at least have a hand in like sifting out people and work on campaigns with people that we really believe in and that we think have their heart in the right place when they're, entering office, because their intentions are everything, is what we'll find out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for answering that. I just thought to get us started here, sorry, Dino, to jump in and Rev, I thought, Amani hasn't been on the podcast, so our viewers didn't really probably know a little bit about your background. And I met you a few days ago on a phone call. And so I was really excited for people to get to know you and your passion and your why. So thank you for allowing us to get to know you a little bit more as we dive in today. It's very heavy today, as Dino said. It's very heavy on the politics side. So we're going to be hearing a lot more from Amani probably than myself. So I wanted you all to kind of get to know her why and her purpose. So having said that, Dino, take it
Kim,
back.
that
You.
woman sounds woke to me. I don't know, but she sounds a little bit woke, and she's got a woke cat behind her too.
Well, he just hopped up here. He wanted to join real bad. So he'll just be here.
Oh no, you don't have to toss it back to me, Kim. And Rev's talking to himself because he's muted.
I'm talking to myself. And I just wanted to say, Imani, I do that anyway. Revolution. Talk to Imani. It's just really fun to have you on Dig on America, on Breaking Barriers. Look at these four beautiful faces with all different ideas about similar things. We're all gonna, yeah, I know. Stop looking cute, man. Nobody's looking at me. And and wherever the banner cuts people off the most in this configuration, flip me up to that side because I am happy to be the one cut off. But Amani, it is really nice to see you, and we are gonna jump into it, I think.
Well, and before we do, Amani, when you become president or you become famous, just remember who forgot you in the intro of this podcast. Okay, just want to throw that out there. So
under the
back
bus.
back to you, Dino. Back to you.
Back to you, Kim. What's going on over on Elon on the Neverland Ranch with Elon?
Okay, y'all know that I spent a good last 2 years in social audio land. That's how I met Dino. It's how I met Rev. And it really, it changed a lot for me. It was really important that I be a part of that landscape. I, had my eyes open to a lot on a global scale. But it has become a place that even I am having trouble with. It's, it was something that I used to look as to a place for inspiration and conversation and all of these things. And now I'm logging in and I'm finding it just to be this absolute, shit show, reality show, circus. And I think what's even more wild is that we have, people that like prefer it that way. So today, I'm like, I don't even know if I can go into this week. So today, we're going to be talking a little bit about Elon and his situation with these polls that he's putting up. After his latest one, we'll get into this. I don't know that he's going to be putting up polls as much as he was. So today we're going to chat tonight. We're just going to dive in a little bit into how we think the psychology about this whole doing polls on Twitter and what the purpose is and what we think his motives were. So this week, couple days ago, Elon put up a poll. As we know, as of late, he's been doing this whole like, we the people, we're going to let the people decide kind of bullshit. So not that that's bullshit, but from him. So basically his latest poll was, I'm going to abide by this poll. And, I'm going to, step down as CEO if you think I should. So the results came in and it showed that everybody voted, and the poll said, yeah, we want you to step down as CEO. He has been extremely quiet in the form of post. If you've been following Elon, this dude is not quiet, okay?
Right.
He is always talking. Now, this last poll, he has to sort of like probably figure out what he's doing, what that looks like. But what we can say is you can look at some of his movements to see where his head is. So in the last hour before we came live, one of the things that I saw that speaks to the psychology, and then I'm going to throw it over to you guys, was there was another poll that he had that was running longer. And it was about an hour ago that he put bots incoming, which is sort of a gaslighting way of putting into the public's head that he doesn't have any, faith in these polls. And he also, after the poll came in, he said, I'm going to be changing up the way that we do polls and who can vote on them. So, listen to this part particularly. He's going to be making it so people who pay, so those with money, so it's a status, free speech and all, but those with money who pay to subscribe will be able to vote on these polls that he's doing. And that's going to have, an effect in what way I don't understand in his mind as he's explaining to the public. But for me, it reads, the people that probably don't want me here are also under marginalized and maybe are in countries and places that won't be able to vote on things. So I'm going to quiet their voices. This is my way of not saying I don't want free speech. It's going to be a way of putting up a paywall, basically to say, I'm only going to want to hear from the people that can subscribe to like Twitter Blue so that I can still control these polls, because I didn't really like the last one. And the jury's out. We'll see what you guys think. If he actually is going to step down. Originally, Dino, I told you that I thought he already had a CEO in place, and this was his like bullshit way of saying like, look, I listened to all of you. But he has not announced a new CEO or if he's going to take that advice. It's been 2 days. He's now talking about the bots. So to me, it's, it's giving me like narcissistic gaslighting vibes. And Amani, I don't know. I see your head shaking. What are you thinking?
We know money can buy you a lot of things, but it clearly cannot buy Elon's self-esteem. Okay. That man is a raging narcissist if I've ever seen one. And he's clearly using Twitter as his own personal narcissistic supply and a way for him to feed his own ego and feel good about himself, because he clearly hates himself. He doesn't have any way to regulate his own emotions and regulate his own self-worth eternally or internally. So he's using his little followers and the people who support him and root him on Twitter as a way to get supply and as a way to sustain his own self-esteem. So it's very blatant what he's doing. It's very obvious that all of the initial reasons that he purchased this platform are bullshit reasons. He never meant it. And all he wanted to do was get some attention and clout. And it's really to his own detriment, because Tesla stock is in the garbage. It's plummeting more and more every day. I believe it dropped another 8% just today. It's on a steady decline, and it's been on a steady decline since he purchased Twitter. So it's just it's honestly astounding to me how much value he has in people kissing his ass over him actually being productive, getting money, and sustaining his own wealth and billionaire status. He wants people to kiss his butt more than he wants to be rich. It's weird.
Well, he blew it, because he's no longer the richest man in America.
And I
He
love it.
blew half of Tesla stock, and his third biggest investor in Tesla said, biatch, you get your ass back to Tesla and get off that Twitter, because when your third biggest investor tells you to get off that Twitter, you better do it. And so I think his ego is so freaking huge and his psychosis is so out of control that he still may not do it. And the good news is, at least at SpaceX, he doesn't make any decisions because he ain't a damn rocket scientist. But at Tesla, they do need him over there, and he needs to get his ass over there. Just go. I'm done with you.
So can we clear up one thing about Tesla? They may need him over there. I don't claim to be a space rocket scientist or a Tesla engineer, but can we just clear up one thing that's driving me fucking insane? He did not invent the Tesla car. He did not. For the love of God, everybody. I'm all for getting, given, if you want to give business credit or whatever y'all want to think, but at the end of the day, let's get it right, okay? He did not invent Tesla, and what he's been good at is buying companies and then sometimes fucking them up and not taking credit for that, and then taking credit for things that he didn't do. So I just wanted to clear that part up because I'm tired of watching y'all are, putting down a brilliant man who invented Tesla and then invented these space rockets. He didn't invent those either. So let's just get that out of the way first, so that when we talk about him, we talk about him for the things he actually does, and we're not giving credit where it's not due. If you want to give him credit for what he does well and great, that's awesome. But don't put credit on somebody else's work. Don't put his name on someone else's work is all I'm saying, because that's feeding that narcissism. And a good person would clear it up and say, hey everyone, speaks to his mindset. I think a good person would see that enough in the news when it's misprinted, and he would say, actually, I didn't invent those things, but I did do XYZ. He lets people run with that story. And that's the story, like Amani said, of a narcissist that is there for the attention. And unfortunately, I do agree that there's something internally going on. I know he lost a child years ago, and people are going to bring that up when it comes to grief. I go through grief myself over loss, but at the end of the day, $44 billion is a big gaping fucking hole to try to fill with money, if that's what you were trying to do. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's exactly that it's a grief thing all the time or whatever, but I do think we need to look, a little bit stronger into the power this person has on a platform that is now feeding ideas out into the media. And Dino, I was just talking to you about this. Not only has he changed a lot of his political views, but he's now pronouncing what people should be doing on his own platform. And just a couple of days ago as well, he was, at the World Cup with Kushner, which is Trump's son-in-law. So we definitely know where his head is.
Yeah. I'll say this, when I said it's going to be a 45 heavy show, it is, because where have we seen all of this before?
His twin.
Where? Think about it. And as the one person here, I think I voted Republican far more than I voted Democrat in my life. So I call myself an independent, but I vote, quite honestly, I vote Republican more. When he came to Twitter and everybody panicked, I was one that was in favor of bringing back the people that were dismissed. I'm in favor of free speech, even hate speech. I hate to say it. I'm in favor of all speech, because I can't stop someone on the streets from screaming at me. I don't care if they call me the N-word or whatever. I can't stop that. And if I hear that and I go punch someone, that's a self-control problem on my part, not on the idiot's part who's screaming nonsense at me. So there's that part of it. But all the pundits started saying, now we're going to have free speech, real free speech, and he's going to do these poll things. And they're more reliable than the election. They said that constantly. That's when people really are able to speak. That's going to be more reliable than the election. And I remember hearing someone say in 2016, if I run and I lose, then it was rigged. So now this poll comes out that's so reliable, it's more reliable than the election. And
you win the prize, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, while we had that little interruption there, Kim, could you just do me a favor and maybe turn down the volume on your speakers that you're listening to, the device there? Because I think that's what's given us that little bit of crosstalk.
Try it now.
Yeah, I'm still hearing it. Everybody else has headsets on, right?
Not that. Try muting yourself when you're not talking, and then
Right.
unmute yourself when you talk. That'll work.
Yep, that's another solution. Look at
Mm.
that.
I used to have a silly computer, and I would have to do that all the time. That was why.
Uh,
My
okay,
Yeah,
work.
that's
well,
taking
just
care of it.
yeah, I'll wrap up this real quick. So now that we have this poll, which is more reliable than the election because all the people are able to speak, and it doesn't come out your way. Wait a minute, it's rigged. They're bots, and all these. But I thought, as Rev said in pre-show, thought they got rid of all the bots. He said, I'm coming here and I'm taking care of all that, so they shouldn't be there. So if he does, as you said, put this election thing behind a paywall, what he'll learn in very short order is that the poverty line in America not only hits the urban communities, but it hits middle America, the salt of the earth people who are on there waving their flags, saying racist stuff every day. So they lose that vote, right? And so it's it's like he's figuring this thing out as he goes along. It's a new toy that he's playing with, and you know the new CEO is
But is he
Kim and I.
figuring it out? That's the question, though, Dino. Is he figuring it out? Right?
Well,
Like, I think he
I
is figuring some people out. So I don't know that he's figuring Twitter out. If we look at the
yes.
platform, Twitter Spaces fell apart the other day. The code is wrong. The new check marks do not include people that are colorblind to be able to see them because they don't have an inclusion team anymore. So he's not figuring the platform out. He's figuring out the people that he wants to speak to, the racists, the people that are like going to follow him in a cult-like mentality. And
Oh
I just will have to say this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dino, but I
no, you're
just do
good.
want to know that I actually was not for him reinstating certain people because I work in trauma recovery and I work in trauma, based crises. And those for you, I love for you, Dino, that you're able to hear certain words or see certain words and not be affected by those words. But there are certain people that it becomes a trauma response to log on to Twitter now. It becomes a trauma response to deal with hate speech every single day for certain groups of people. So I'm actually not for that, the ability to be so free with speech that it's traumatizing of certain groups of people as well. So I just
Mhm.
wanted to give my perspective on that from a trauma recovery coach, and just that it may be, if you are a person that can handle those types of things and you've dealt with that's a wonderful situation. But I don't know that everyone can always look at something and not be triggered. And I don't even like the word triggered because it maybe implies that a person's weaker if they are affected by something. They're not,
Mhm.
right? It's always something different. You could say
Yeah.
chocolate ice cream and someone could be triggered by that. But at the end of the day, I think that we do have to sort of weigh the consequences because the next generation, my kids, 18, 19, they're getting on Twitter. Now, my children are not, they're not going to be the receivers of that hate speech exactly, that what we see that's been said, but their friends and the people, your kids and other people that are coming up, as they join these platforms, and we need to see their voices more than ever, they're being sort of pushed away in the way that they don't want to be there. They're going to
Yeah.
go find other places to be, and we need their voices more than ever. So when you allow someone to bring back those people, you allow someone to encourage that hate speech as a form of free speech, it's telling that younger generation that you don't care about how we feel and the responses that this is causing us. We're in our formative years and we're reading these types of things from hate speech, uh, people that are calling us names and saying different things that are hurtful and traumatizing. So we don't want to be here. So that's the other part of this whole thing is
Yeah.
I think that the free speech part, that disguise that he has for what he wants to do to connect to all the people that he wants to connect to is actually going to be doing more damage because there's going to be people that are going to leave the platform and we're not going to see their voice. We're not going to see that representation as much. So I just wanted to add that point as well.
Yeah, I had something that I wanted to add too. I'm part of the camp of just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. Like
Mhm.
the first day that Elon took over, do you know what people decided to do with their free speech? the N-word usage went up 400%. I literally logged in and saw stuff that literally said, kill all the N-words. I can't even count how many times I saw that when I logged on the computer. It's not productive. It's not helpful. It's not good, positive, anything. It's evilness. And you're saying kill all the N-words. So that makes me not even feel safe walking around outside of my house, because if I know that people who just yesterday weren't able to say that type of stuff and now they can log on 24 hours later and that's how they feel, it perpetuates an environment that makes us feel like our lives are at risk, and that's not healthy for anybody. And just, this is going for Twitter, but all this just as a whole, like, I wish we could get back into a point where we were just respecting one another a little bit more. And I feel like just for the sake of being able to say, I feel like I should and could and will do and say whatever I want, what's the point of that? I don't understand what the point of it is, and other than sowing division and hurting people. And that's not what I think we should be aiming to become as an American society. And then on top of that, for business purposes, I don't understand what Elon's point of turning this app in that direction is, even for his own bottom line. It doesn't seem like a productive or wise thing to do. Doesn't seem like it's going to help him get his return on investment. All the advertisers are going to pull away from it, as they've been. Just like Kim was saying, they don't have a team, a staff to even run the company anymore, because people are so disgusted with what that platform has become. So I just don't understand it. And I don't think there's really any good that can come from it, no matter what side you fall on. You can be a conservative and not want to say kill all the N-words. They're not the same thing. You can be a Republican and still not want to, send rape threats and death threats and all of this to people.
It is hard to follow up with what I was going to say when you initially said, I don't think we should, just because we can do it, we should do it, because everything you just said is fucking very pertinent. But I was going to say, well, you got to get the fuck off this planet, because if humans can build a bomb that'll blow shit up, they will build it. If humans can do something that will harm humans, if they mess with the DNA, if they mess with the germ line, and so Dino's children, after he gets a tail, and he gets a effed up tail at a garage sale, and they mess with his germ line, and everybody in all his offspring now have tails, because it's a germ line instead of a non-germ line genetic trait. Humans are going to do it. And that's the problem with humans. Is just like you said, the problem with people is people, because people will do everything. If it's possible, they'll do it. And I don't know what this guy's doing. I know we've been on this thing for about a half an hour, but it is frustrating. And I want to say quickly, because I love Twitter.
I want to be the first to say that on here. I think he's going to try to run for president at some point, and he saw Trump's model, and he thinks that's a good model, and he's going after the same exact people. And that's going to pull us into what we're talking about tonight with Trump. And if Trump can't run for president, if he's, his favorite color is orange, hopefully he's going to get used to that if something happens. But if he can't run for president, I think Elon is setting up in his own mind. Amani
but Elon can't run, though, because he was born in South Africa. Oh, yeah. No, he may try to change the rules. No,
but I'm going to tell you something.
South Africa. So
I got to throw another grenade. I'm sorry, I got to say this, because
throw the grenade.
What Amani said was very pertinent. But I'm gonna tell you, coming from the right, I want to watch the Oscars and every other award show at daytime television without Hollywood liberals telling me how stupid I am. I want to watch television without constantly being attacked by the Hollywood elite, which is what the right feels when they were like, and they're kicking our people off, because like when most of the people on the left will say that God, what is this movement? Antifa exists because the Tea Party got violent and they created it, and they were a reaction to the other side. Well, this hate, is it like someone as charismatic and as well spoken, as well liked as Barack Obama? He makes more jokes about conservatives being stupid than people realize. He makes fun of the other side quite a bit. And they, like when you say they feel triggered and attacked, they feel attacked as well.
But they
So
also
we gotta
tried
look
to
at this
overthrow
kinda.
the government, brother. You know that Obama and the Antifa has not tried to overthrow the government.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, and I got some thoughts on it, but Kim, moving on, and we don't have to go deep into it because but the rights poster boy has has trading cards. He's got like these NFT trading cards. Isn't that great?
Ooh,
So
I can't wait to talk
we
about that.
can't get away from Twitter tonight or Trump because I mean Twitter is, you know, the last year or so has blown up with NFTs and Bitcoins and all this other stuff. And Trump, you know, had really been kind of anti cryptocurrency stuff and NFTs, all that stuff. Then all of a sudden he's got these, you know, the first day his little NFT cards came out, he ended up selling out like 45,000 sold out within like the first, you know, couple of hours. Which is, you know, great for a person if that's what you're going for, you know, if that's what he wanted. But you have to come to an understanding when you're looking at something and you're like, okay, he sold some cards, whatever. Should I care? You should care when you recognize that this dude is stealing images from like Reuters and photographers and did not get permission. So again, we're literally going to stay in this vein all night, I feel like, of narcissism, of this I can do what I want when I want because people tell me I can. And not only do they tell me I can, but they pay me to do what the fuck I want to do, that I want to do. So that's where we are right
But
now. In
Kim,
that
if you
stealing the images that
if you
people,
take
I just
my
want to get that out.
picture, Kim, if you take my picture, can I do
Bradley.
whatever I want with that picture that you took? Because it's me.
No. And actually, this is perfect timing because I was a photographer for 10 years, professional, international, all the things, photojournalist. And I can tell you this, just because your photo is taken does not mean you own rights to that photo. One, it's, you know, that's not your property and that's not his property. And I don't care how many people fucking write it in the chats. It's not going to make it more true that just because he was the president and they took his photo as the president, that it makes it any more true that he owns this property. It doesn't, that's not how that works. I'm sorry, being president doesn't come with a long list that says you now own all of these things because you are president. So he has stolen images from Reuters and other people. Seems like there's some images from Amazon that's slightly been altered, which everybody knows that you can take a photo, take it into Photoshop, slightly alter it, and then all of a sudden call it yours because it's intellectual property. So there's some gray lines going on here, but at the end of the day, he's a fucking thief. And we knew that, right? At every level. So I don't know why anybody be surprised at this. I wasn't shocked to read it. I would be shocked if I opened up something and somebody told me that Trump did something that actually made fucking sense. I'd be like, what? What? But when I find out that he's done some shady shit, I'm like, okay, it's another day that ends in Y. And I mean the letter and also the word. Why? Why the
Hey.
fuck? And then also it's just another day for him. So
Hey, Rev,
yeah.
how many cards did you get, Rev? I know you were on.
Oh my God, I bought the limit. And you know why he did that limit was so that he doesn't have to report it. But of course, now the IRS is all aware of it. But yeah, I was trying to jump in there. I apologize there. I was so pissed about the Shutterstock thing because you can see the watermark. He didn't even buy the Shutterstock. If he'd just bought the Shutterstock, he could have had it licensed, you know, and not had a problem. But it is you know, he's an arrogant son of a bitch who needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. And, you know, they can build him a fucking island out somewhere down off North Carolina if they want and give him a golf course even. I don't care because the president of the United States, even though he was the worst president in the history of fucking history, you know, I hate jailing a president, but he does need to be jailed, but at least give him, you know, he is going to have to be treated better than the average criminal. That's just a sad fact because we don't want a tin pot, you know, banana republic here and we arrest Biden as soon as he's no longer president and throw his ass in jail. So it's horrible.
Amani. NFT, not mine. Let's talk NFC. What's going on? You get you some?
That man. Bless him. I don't know why, like Kim said, I don't know why Trump does anything anymore. And I don't know why like you said, people are shocked. Like, he's gonna do weird shit every chance that he gets. He's gonna do something fraudulent. He is going to lie to people, deceive. Like, it is quite literally in his nature. When he bleeds, nothing but lies come out, just puddles of lies pull onto the floor. That's what he is and what he's made of. So it's gonna be interesting to see what actually happens with this court case, like Rev was talking about. I don't know if they're ever actually even gonna lock him up, but if they do, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. But if not, I just kind of want to. We just need to decide what we're going to do about this thing. Like, what are we going to do about January 6th? Is he going to jail? Is he going to be sanctioned? Are we going to make it so he can't run for office again? Like, whatever those repercussions are going to happen, let's go ahead and get them going, because at this point, I'm getting over it.
Well, the Democrats are kind of wimpy, though.
They are.
They don't usually follow through on stuff like that, unfortunately.
They've been dragging this. Like, they are dragging it. Like, just do it or not. And every time I see a new headline, like the one that just happened, I couldn't even get super excited, because it's like, bro, how many times am I going to see this headline and this man is still free? Like, I don't want to hear nothing else.
I don't think Merrick Garland has the stones to do it, honestly. I don't think he does.
Let's jump right into that. The
That's
topic of tonight's.
You know, you want to just go into the topic. We can skip the other one.
Topic of tonight's conversation: the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol accused former President Donald J. Trump on Monday of inciting insurrection, conspiracy to defraud the United States, obstruction of an act of Congress, and one other federal crime, as it referred him to the Justice Department for a potential prosecution. The action, the first time in American history that Congress has referred a former president for criminal prosecution, is the coda to the committee's 18-month investigation into Mr. Trump. His efforts to overturn the 2020 election that culminated in a violent mob at the former president's supporters laying siege to the Capitol. So there we have it. And on a personal note, my daughters are Capitol Police.
Wow.
So that that particular thing was very, very close to, and their mother is a police officer there as well. That hit very close to home for me. But yeah, so it's and I'm glad Killmonger said this, and we can jump right into what's going to happen. Referred does not mean they'll charge him. He's still an elite. We'll start, since we got our political expert on. We'll start there. Is Trump bigger than the law?
I would say no. So this is what Rev was kind of alluding to. I don't know if we were talking about this before we got on camera or after, but the reason why it's important that we do make him face some sort of consequences is because we don't want to set the tone that this is the type of thing that we will allow in this country, and that we will allow our democracy to devolve, and it'll just be whatever it ends up being, which ultimately is leading towards authoritarianism and tyranny. We don't want that. So in order for us as a country to kind of put these parameters and have these checks and balances that we allegedly have built into the system, we have to act whenever we see somebody step out of bounds. And before, it was the tax returns, it was the smaller things, which weren't small at all. I honestly don't know what type of spell Donald Trump had on our political system, but the more he started doing stuff that is just blatantly, obviously wrong, there's really no way around it. Like, elite or not, you still incited a riot that ended in the death of a person and the harm of Capitol police officers. We had people who were hiding in their chambers under their desk. People was literally saying their last prayers. People in the Capitol thought they were going to die. They were saying, "Hang Mike Pence," and Trump never apologized for that. To this day, he has not apologized for January 6th or taken any real responsibility for it. So because of that, we can't allow him, if not put him in jail, we certainly can't allow him to run for president again, because what does that say? It means the next person that wins, or doesn't win, they can just throw the whole system away and they can do whatever they want. So elite or not, I definitely think something must be done. I wouldn't be mad if he went to jail, because the crime is that big. he did break the damn law. So
Hey, Rev, what I've been hearing from the right is you're just scared of him being president again. That's
Terrified.
you're attacking a political opponent. That's why you're trying to charge him.
Well, you can smoke whatever you smoke down there out on the farm or whatever, suck up some coal dust, whatever you do out there for fun. Because the fact of the matter is, he's a traitor. He committed sedition and he needs to be in jail for the rest of his life and not given that magical island and everything. But the fact of the matter is, he is elite. He should have gone to jail 30 years ago, 40 years
literally.
ago. Constance down there just said it. We put it up there on the screen. He is a criminal. He's been a criminal since probably 15 seconds after his daddy funded his stuff. I know that is exactly true. The first time he bought an apartment building on his own or whatever. So he is morally immoral. He's morally corrupt. He's a traitor. He should be a felon. He should be convicted. And actually, he should be flown to Russia and let Putin have his way with him, whatever he wants to do with him, because he needs to get the hell out of my country because he's a piece of crap. So there you go. And I'm terrified for him to be president again because he'll make it worse.
Hey, Kim, since you're a social media expert, explain to these two why we on the right, and I'm not with this one, I'm not a Trump guy, but we on the right, everything you guys are doing to him, you're just making us love him even more. You're making us, you're strengthening our resolve. Explain to them why that is.
So first of all, just for the playback and for people to hear this correctly, when Dino says we, and he's, announcing me, and he says we on the right, let's just be real clear. I'm not on the fucking right, just so we're clear. I just want to let everybody know that because it kind of sounded a little confusing there. And yeah, just want to be clear because I do look like some of those fucking weirdos. So here's the thing. I'm going to get to that. I just have two things I want to say here. One, I think it's really important that we see that this was a unanimous vote. If we're going to talk about the vote that was made, there were two Republicans in that. I think it was Cheney and I can't remember the other one. The other one is Kinzinger. That was it. So two Republicans also voted for this with Donald Trump. It's very important that we note that, right? The other thing that I think is important is that the Democrat from Maryland, Jamie Raskin, the quote was, "Ours is not a system of justice where foot soldiers go to jail and the masterminds and ringleaders get a free pass." So before I go to the social media comment, I think it's only right to say we are watching a system that was putting people in prison for the insurrection. They were holding them accountable, but you're not putting the mastermind. Like, we've seen conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, where people go to jail for that if they are not the ones that commit the act for the same amount of time. Most states have a law that if you are just present at the time of a felony or something, you get capital murder charges. So that they go, well, you were there or you thought of it or you planned it. But then when it comes to Trump, it's, well, he doesn't deserve the same treatment as the people who carried it out. That to me is just a massive level of hypocrisy, and it also shows that elitism that Rev and Amani were talking about. Now, when it comes to the right and social media, that is one of the biggest things that we need to stop doing. And Rev, I'm going to call you out a little bit on this because I just noticed something that you did that I think is one of the biggest problems that people do have is that, you made this comment like, well, y'all need to down on the farm, need to stop this, and you had the accent and all of that, and you did it well. But that's not actually the truth. The biggest part of the population of voters are not, of Republican voters are not uneducated farmers down on the farm with these uneducated views and viewpoints, right? We are getting that wrong. On the Democratic side and the progressive side, independent side, we are fucking that up. From a social media perspective, when you have people go online and you are throwing these insults to people that they're stupid or they're not educated or they're from down south, two things can happen. if they are uneducated and they haven't had a voice and they don't know where, to get a voice, the first thing you just did is you created a further divide, because they're going to say that Trump gave us a vote. He actually gave us a voice. And you know what he did? He didn't act like we were stupid. He didn't act like we were smoking stupid shit down on the farm. And obviously we'll give you a time to respond in a second, Rev.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, it's fine. It's fine.
I wanted to give that example. Second, on the Democratic side, from a perspective of social media, everything that we do is seen by people that are in this mindset. I grew up like this. You can fuck with you can't fuck with my sister. I can, though. I might call my sister a crazy bitch, but if you do it, I'm going to tell you where the fuck you can go, and then I'll talk to my sister later. When you go for Trump, they feel like this man is a part of like their family. They feel like this man has stood up for them. They feel like this man has given them a voice. No matter whether they stand on the class levels, whether they understand it or not, because there's a level of ignorance definitely when it comes to unions and farmers and all of those people that think Trump was actually giving them a voice when he's actually against them. The people that are voting for him are actually voting against their interest. We know that, but they don't understand that. So are we going to do better by just telling them that they're fucking stupid? Not that you said that, Rev. This is on social
I might
media.
have.
But are we is that going to help by saying, y'all are fucking stupid. You don't even know what's going on. You don't even understand what's happening. No, because the more you tell someone that they're stupid, that they don't deserve a voice, they don't deserve a vote, that they're not the same level as you, that you're above them, that you can talk in bigger words and bigger whatever, they're going to feel like they're ostracized and they're not going to vote for you. So we have to get this piece right. And the one thing that I saw, because my partner Sinjin was working at Giles Parscale, which, if you understand that connection, would be Brad Parscale was Trump's digital advisor. His digital media advisor, ran his campaign. Sinjin worked there before the election started. And then when Trump was elected, he stayed there. Now, the company got sold off. Sinjin moved on. He's on, at Facebook and all of that, thank God. And he hated that whole situation. But what we saw was the genius, and I don't care if you get pissed at me for saying it, because this is breaking barriers. This isn't just, we're going to sit here and just talk to you because you're watching a political podcast. The truth is, the genius that was the Republican side of Brad Parscale was he understood the audience that Donald Trump was trying to speak to. They understood the audience in which they were trying to get votes from. And the Democrats, I don't fucking understand why we can't get that together. We keep going backwards, honestly. And all day people can get upset at me for saying that and say, well, you're not a true Democrat or whatever. I'm just going off facts. At the end of the day, we can sit and say whatever we want to online, but if you are pushing people away through insults and you're not smart and you don't understand it and all of that, it's going to drive them further to that situation. So when it comes to social media, one of the things that we try to do here at Breaking Barriers is open up the dialogue, is open up the conversation. Now, do I think that if you've got trauma or there's something going on that you don't want to sit with the person that's across the aisle, you shouldn't do that. But I think a lot of us do have the ability to sit down and open up a conversation and a dialogue that might inch us better closer to a different outcome than this massive polarizing situation we have now, where people were running to the polls to vote for Trump in those elections. They were like, in numbers that we had not even seen. Now, that they also broke numbers on the Democratic side, but we're talking about Trump tonight. And the idea that a reality star that has scammed people for more than 3 fucking decades could become president to begin with. And then he gets away with the insurrection for however long it's been. And he probably will get away with it. In my mind, I don't think he's going to go to jail. I think what the Democrats did was they were like, we're going to hold him accountable. We're going to recommend this so that it looks like we're doing our jobs. That's what bothers me about Democrat representatives. A lot of times they talk a lot of fucking shit, but they never fucking come through. And they could. They're just about money at top levels, at elite levels, as Republicans are. And that's something that bothers me to the core of who I am, is when they act like they're not. But you could actually make it happen if you wanted to. So when it comes to social media, we have to start realizing that by attacking people, we are actually making it worse. And they are going to be instead of running to the polls, they're going to be flying to the polls to defend the fact that their person, their people are worth being up at the top levels. And that's all they ever wanted, is they just wanted a voice. He gave it to them. So if on social media we look like we're trying to take that voice away, which is the fighting and the name calling and all of that, I'm not going to say it's not, like, I'll close my point here and land my plane here, but I'm not saying that it's not warranted. I'm not saying that it's not warranted to call someone what they really are if they're acting dumb, if they're acting stupid, if they're not, educating themselves on actually if his policies were good enough for them, if he was a bad person. But at the end of the day, massive numbers of Christians voted for this man, massive numbers of white women with the, all of this femininity and feminine power that we should be going toward voted for this man. So we can't blame one group of people for the vote, but we can take accountability where we need to in the way we are having these conversations. I understand the anger. Believe me, I do. I have a very deep relationship with fucking anger, but we have to start deciding what on social media are we going to do about this perception of how we are looking at the other side, because that led us to where we are. So I know it wasn't very professional from a digital agency perspective, but on a human level, I saw what was going on, and I saw that they were very good at talking to the insecurities of an entire group of people, and people who felt oppressed in a different way than maybe your marginalized communities or the Black culture. So they had their own insecurities, and they spoke to that. They empowered that dangerously, which is what we're seeing with the insurrection. So rather than us continue to attack, we are going to have to find some way to build. And I know that sounds fucking horrible. And looking at me, the white woman, it's going to be like, well, that sounds easy for you. I do understand that. I don't have the way forward. I'm learning just as much as anybody else, but I'm seeing it this way. The way we were doing it is not working. So we've got to come up with something else. And I quoted that from Tupac, because I had that picture on my wall in the first Breaking Berries, Dino, from the photographer that took it. He gifted that to me. And that's from that song, from his song Changes. We've got to operate a different way. The old way wasn't working. So we got to find a new way to survive. And if we're going to do this together as a country, as well as we would hope to do, we've got to find another way of communicating with each other. That's my 2 cents, or 80.
Hey, I'm going to jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Just because I'm not going to defend myself. But what I am going to say is that 10, that's okay, Dino, that 10, 15, 20, 30% of diehard, they're just voting for Trump to stick it to the libs, folks, and willing to destroy the country doing it. Yeah, I don't give a damn about them. I don't. I'm about breaking barriers and talking to everybody. I'll talk to the other 70% of conservatives. Yes, 80% of them still voted for Trump, but they are different. And we do have to make compromises and talk, no doubt. But the traitors, oh no, they can get the hell out of my country. I don't want them here. They're willing to destroy our nation because they want to make me own it. Man, that's a serious offense right there.
Yeah,
it's all right. You have a right to that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dana. Amani. I was going.
My 2 cents with that is, I understand everything that you're saying, Kim, and I understand the things that brought people to Trump. They didn't want to hear that. And I've seen it on the progressive side. We moralize a lot. It's annoying to me. Like when other progressives, we voting for the same candidate, and somebody want to tell me how much more moral and truer and honorable they are than me. I'm like, bitch, we're on the same campaign. What are you talking about? So I do understand that that's an issue. However, I want us to really decide, or just be more fair in what we value over something else. Like, I understand you may have felt stupid. However, people will lose their lives. The country will end. Democracy will be over. Women will lose their rights. Black people will continue to be shot in the streets. We're fighting for real stuff. And it's not just a feeling or an opinion or that hurt me or that wasn't nice. This is people's lives, their livelihood. Think of what's happening to the gay community, the trans people. People are being killed. Black trans people are killed 90% more than any other person. Even white trans people. Like, these are real issues that have effects on people's lives. The education system is crumbling. They're closing down public education schools. So it's like, yeah, that hurts your feelings. And I agree, we shouldn't be hurting people's feelings. There's ways we can have these conversations and still have them on a human level. But at the end of the day, you're telling me you put my life at risk. Because just like you were saying, blonde hair, blue eyed, you are a white woman. It's only you can have these opinions, but at the end of the day, I go walking out my house, there's a target on my back. I'm a dark skinned Black woman. There's nothing I can do about it. So when people tell me, look me in my face and say, oh, I voted for Trump, you voted against me as a woman because I'm a double minority, and you voted against me as a Black woman. So I'm sorry that it hurt your feelings that somebody called you dumb, but now you just made my life materially worse. So what's more important?
So I want to just respond really quickly on that from that digital media side. So for those that follow me, know, like, because I'm getting comments here as that I always get this, and I want to clear some things up. Yes, I am mixed race. I present as white, so I think it's important that you all know that. When we are talking about this, Amani saying what she's saying, the way that Amani has just spoken about what it actually means to lose life, and we're going to get into the privilege talk if we go too deep into that. Look at how I look, right? That's why I said as the way that I look and I present. We've already talked about my race on this and all of that. It's not important. So I see some of those comments on Twitter and all of those things separately than what we have here. Just want to knock those off for the sake of us moving forward. One of the things I think is important here is what I think Amani just did was exactly what I was trying to, I guess, speak to, which is speak to the truth of what's hurting people at the heart level and the life level. And that's the breaking barriers. That's the open dialogue that you should be having. So Amani, I only met you a couple times, and I value you very much in your opinion, and not just your opinion, but like, this is your truth. This is all of our truths. It's not just your truth, it's everybody's truth, because we are living what's going on as far as what we're watching, and what you go through as a Black woman is not something that I obviously live. I know that. And I think we all have to understand that. So what I was going to say is this idea of hurt feelings and stupid and being called those names, great points. I think they're not even great points. They're perfect points to the topic of tonight and what you're valuing. And I think that's the reason that these open conversations should be had, so that we can understand where people are coming from. Amani, you are somebody that represents a lot of people that I have heard that from, right? But I don't think there's a lot of other people that have taken the time to listen to you. There's probably people that just listened to you just now and probably didn't actually take the fullness. They were ready to debate the next point. They didn't actually want to listen to what you had to say. And so those are the people that, like Rev, like you said, they're traitors. They're not meant for this country. I wouldn't want to talk to those people either. So I guess the way I would wrap this in saying this is, it's the approach that I definitely don't agree with, putting someone's like feelings, emotions over a person's life. As I said before when Dino was talking, I work in trauma. That's why I didn't like what I saw when Amani mentioned the increase in word on Twitter. And so many more traumas are facing Black culture, marginalized communities. My daughter's in the gay community, as we know. My partner is, biracial himself. We've already gone through that with the police department, Houston PD, the trauma that comes through all of that we've witnessed there, and I've already expressed here. So, catch some other podcasts on the past ones for those stories. I won't take the time tonight. But I think what I wanted to speak back to is, I want to make it clear that I'm not, and I think this is important, and I'm not backpedaling. I just want to make it clear where my intentions are. When my opinion has been asked from a social media perspective, to say that I'm giving a perspective of what I saw does not mean that I agree with somebody feeling like them feeling stupid or ostracized is more important or equal to someone fearing for their life or fearing for their family or their progression in life. So I think that should be said first off. So if you are a person that looks like me and you heard me and I empowered you in some way because you're like, yeah, the white woman said that they shouldn't be hurting our feelings. Fuck you, because you didn't really get the fullness, and fuck me for not getting the word right on that. And I apologize in that regard. And I think it's important to note that words matter and the way that we say them matter. And I'm kind of fired up in this podcast already because of the topic And the fact that Donald Trump probably won't go to jail, and that kind of gets me in my feels. So I am speaking from a place of emotion. We all are. And that's why Breaking Barriers is what it is at the root of what it is. We have got to be able to have the conversations. You've got to be able to sit in a conversation like we just had. I expressed the thoughts of what was going on a digital level, opinions, and Amani gave me her opinion back. And you cannot be afraid to speak that truth back to someone that may seem like they don't hear you, or may seem like they don't see you, or that they don't want to see you or hear you. So I would end with this as we go back to you, Dino, and you drive the conversation a little bit more. This exchange that you just saw was really an example of what I was speaking to, which is we've got to find ways to open a dialogue so that you can hear a person's actual reasons for why they feel, how they feel. Amani expressed herself, and we heard that. I felt it. I can only imagine, or I can't imagine really to that level. But what I can say is, when I speak from the perspectives of all of those people that think that you got a voice through Trump, you didn't get a voice. There's other people that can give you those platforms to speak to. You're just going to have to do the work. And that's what we're doing here tonight. You're going to have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations. And you're going to have to be willing to be wrong. And you're going to have to be willing to look stupid. So I didn't really wrap my point up in saying that and holding the other side accountable, Dino. So that's why I interrupted there in saying that the other side, the Republican side, the conservatives that do feel like their feelings hurt, they have to be held accountable as well for telling other people to get over a word, or to get over slavery, or to get over whatever, but then being like, oh, but you hurt my feelings because you called me stupid. I do see that there is a disparity there. Yeah. There is a juxtaposition that goes on there as well. So I just wanted to speak to my side on that, to be clear that, at the end of the day, I'm going to support Amani's position on this. And, I do not ever want anybody to think that an emotion is of feelings being hurt from being called stupid is the same as fearing for your life and not knowing what your future looks like. So I will hand it back to you.
No, yeah. Let me say this, and I'm gonna hand Amani the mic in a second, because Amani's apparently responsible for the downfall of America.
I saw
but let's hold on for 1 second. I'm gonna say this, Kim.
I didn't catch anything.
It's lively. It's lively in the comments.
Kim, you didn't have to say anything that you said, because I'll tell you this. And I've said this time and time again. The other side has a voice. I don't give a shit if you don't agree with it. Okay. If somebody says that the policies in California are the worst thing in the world, and California is going to break off the map and go into the sea because of Democrats, that they have a right to say that. This is America. They may not be right, but force yourself to listen to them without cursing them out. Hear what they have to say, as wrong as you may think, because here's the thing. None of us are the smartest person in the room, and they may be right about some things, but listen to the root of their conversation and then have a dialogue with them without just going crazy on them. There's that. So the other side has a right to their voice. The other side has a right to their opinions. So Amani apparently has drawn up all these laws and everything else in California it makes it so bad in the rest of the country. But there's that. I want to ask you this, Amani, and I want you to talk about that stuff. But I do want to tell you this. Donald J. Trump said that he has already had his trial. He was impeached. So you can't hand this whole thing over to the DOJ, because that's double jeopardy. And the reason why I accidentally called you Anna, because I was thinking Anna would be great to handle this. She's our legal person. But Amani, you know enough about politics. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Was Donald Trump already tried and they didn't hit the 2/3 vote, so he didn't get kicked out of office? So he's had his trial, has he?
Hey, real quick. We need a special buzzer. Bzz, I probably have something. We just got a raid, folks. So 132 people have just jumped into the room. Welcome to Dig on America Breaking Barriers. Hello. I am actually in Twitch. So say hi to me in there, and welcome everybody. All right, Amani, you were up there.
Yes.
Rev came
Unfortunately,
alive. That raid hit him live in Rev.
it was. Unfortunately, criminal proceedings and the proceedings that went on in the House are not the same. Double jeopardy applies to criminal law, criminal adjudication and such, and what he went through was not a criminal matter. So no, there's no double jeopardy applied. I'm sorry. He still will have to be tried again. And again, like we said, these are just a suggestion. We don't know what they're actually going to do. We don't know if they're really even going to pursue these charges. So before we all get our panties all up in a bunch, let's figure out what's actually going to happen. Let's see if he will even be prosecuted, or even are they even going to call him in for questioning? Are they really going to even investigate this matter any further, or are they just doing this to say that they did it? We don't know yet.
And why are your liberal policies responsible for the downfall of America, Amani?
While,
Trying to
while
be
we have Amani here, we have the raid. Dutch was mentioning that we should introduce ourselves because this is our first time in front of some of these viewers. So Amani, do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself since you're the guest tonight, so people know passionately why you're coming from your perspective?
Yes, my name is Amani Wells. I'm the partner and operations director of a progressive political firm called Soul Strategies. And I spend my days working on different campaigns all across the country, up and down the ballot, trying to get a lot of working class folks, first time candidates, and from time to time, even incumbents elected or reelected all across our great nation. So politics is something I'm super passionate about. So that's why, I be getting fired up sometimes.
Thank
Anywho,
you. So
I don't. This is so
All
the
right.
comments are some of the.
Hold on real quick, Amani. We're going to
Okay.
have everybody else introduce themselves real quick.
Oh, JK.
it's my bad because I gave it to her in the form of a question, so it just looked like I was interviewing her. So I'm Kimberly K. I'm Kimberly K. Scott at Dear Kimberly K on Twitter. I am 1/3 of the co-host, 1/2 of the initial co-host here with Dino Moore. We started this as a way to just show people that they could be comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations. The show started over at Twitter Spaces. I am a #1 best-selling author of a book for women in business on Amazon. I am a trauma recovery coach, but mainly I spend most of my days managing, coaching crisis situations. And at the end of the day, my biggest, biggest job is that I'm a mama to 2 grown teens. They're 18 and 19, and they literally have pretty much qualified me for most of the shit that goes down in this world. I attest. I'm from everywhere and nowhere. I was born and raised in Mississippi, and will always be a diehard that the South is the best for a lot of reasons and the worst for many more. And I'm currently residing in California. And I'm a conversationalist. I like to open up the dialogue, figure out what it is that make people tick. I'm going for my psychology PhD soon. So yeah, that's me. There's a lot more to all of us, but long story long, I'm just really grateful to be here with this group of people tonight. Dino?
Oh, I'm Dino Moore. Instagram, Dino, Dino_MOORE. I am a film producer down here in the Hollywood of the South, Atlanta, Georgia. I will spend my day working on television shows, commercials, filming music videos, doing whatever. And I'm a producer for the Atlanta 48-Hour Film Project and an author of the book, The Rhythm of the Streets. Rev, to you.
I am hopefully not on mute. I'm not. I'm Revolution McInnes. And I'm at RevMac Live. I just did that from Twitch. I'll do it from YouTube because it's hard to differentiate us on here sometimes, and that's kind of fun. I have a show on Fireside, a couple of them so far this week in the Shy, or Chi, depending on how you want to say it. But I think the Shy is the way they say it in Chicago to mean the nickname. And that's a kind of a local, kind of a national political show. We're going to do a show here real soon. I got to talk to some hosts on here to see if they want to join me, but I think I can say we're going to be doing so far this week on Dig on America. That is coming, and I'm excited about that, to be on both these programs. So yeah, you'll find me everywhere. I mean, cover of Vogue, maybe not, but I'm out there.
So, Amani, what policies do you support that are ruining the world? I know that's putting you on the spot. It's kind of a joke,
Yeah.
but I want to get you an opportunity to defend yourself because you know it's So go for it.
So just like we were talking about how we shouldn't paint everybody on the conservative side with one foul swoop and one brush, we shouldn't assume anything about somebody just because you assume that I politically have the ideology of somebody who's progressive. I do, but at the end of the day, I'm Amani. I'm not, a label, and I believe in what I believe. So you're incorrect. I never advocated for defund the police. I'm about police reform. I believe that defund the police language, it hasn't done well for us. So I don't think we should be using it on campaigns. And that's just coming from working on, these campaigns. So wrong about that. You're incorrect. I don't know. I don't like crime. I don't know what that came from, but that's where I just kind of think like we have these preconceived notions, and some of them have a lot of undertones that you may not want to admit. But it's kind of clear in that you're assuming, right? You're assuming that I have something to do with black on black crime, or I'm pro black crime, or all of that. It's a little interesting to say the least. You're assuming, you're misgendering trans people. That's not good. We probably shouldn't be doing that in the chat, right? So there's just a lot of interesting dialogue going on that we should just be weary of, because you don't like when we call you names. So I won't call anybody names. I would just ask you to kind of reconsider what those things that you are saying mean, and what those preconceived notions and assumptions mean for the people that you're projecting these things onto. We'll say that.
And Dino, in the comments, I just wanted to throw this out there because Killmonger is really fighting the fight over here in the comments. They said, no wonder he handpicks the sister to attack. I think that speaks to what Amani was saying, is those undertones that you can see in people's behavior. So, don't pretend that some of the behaviors that I just caught up, I was doing my monologue over here while y'all were over here hating on people in the comments. So I want to speak to two things there. Don't assume that people can't see those undertones. We're seeing so much online that it's easy to read BS and it's easy to read racism. Amani didn't say it, but I will. So it's easy to say, we can see racism, we can see misogyny. It really speaks loud most of the time. The other thing is, Dino, thank you for, always having my back and saying I didn't have to say things and all of that. Not having my back exactly, but what that was. I want to be very clear. The way that we work here is we all have our own opinions. We're all independent of each other. It's breaking barriers. But when you're coming for different people on this platform, make sure you're coming for the person who spoke at what they spoke to. So if you have an issue, come to the right person for what they spoke to. Don't come at like everybody on this panel for something that I said wrong, because I see some bullshit on Twitter. So if you didn't like something I said, or it came a certain way, it's not breaking barriers. It's Kimberly K. Scott, and you can quote me if I messed up. But also, Dino, when you said that I didn't have to say what I said, I wanted to clear up my thoughts. I wanted to clear up how I had maybe interpreted or maybe, spoke, so that if anybody who looks like me thinks the way that they do after what I said could maybe, understand where I was coming from. So yeah, I agree. Everybody is, it is a free speech country, but at the end of the day, like maybe more of us should, fucking take a seat and say, you know what? I don't know that I said that right. Let me listen for a little while. And as soon as Amani started talking to her points, it actually gave me some pause to be like, next time I'm going to think about how I explain what I said better. That doesn't mean, she was coming after me with what she said. Hers was central to her. So this is a learning lesson for me at all times. This podcast will always be a place that I learn more than I hope to preach. So I just want to clear that up as well, because the Twitter DMs are always wild with thoughts and all of that, and nobody can see that. But having said that, I will throw it back to you. Amani, you are doing a phenomenal fucking job. And I just want to say that. It has been obvious that you were targeted. And also, Killmonger, thank you so much. Jesus, like you are doing an amazing job in the comments, fighting the good fight over there. So appreciate you too.
I'm just going to jump in real quick.
Go ahead, Rev.
I just want to jump in real quick and let everybody know to subscribe Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Twitch. You can become a member of Dig on America on Twitch. Join us. We've got 50 some people still in here, and some folks now in the chat that have never been here before talking to us. So that is phenomenal. And I think Kim had thrown it over to Amani, and
I
I'm
did.
going to say,
I threw it to Dino, but I got to run it back in because I
sorry.
want to answer this question before people move on. So someone said, "What is a trauma coach?" They said, "I mean no disrespect. I wouldn't take that disrespectfully. That's for another time. We can go deeper on that, but just at brief level, so you understand what I do. That's anybody who's sustained like post-traumatic stress syndrome from being in the military or abuse as a child or anything that has gone on that's caused a deep level of trauma. It doesn't always look like PTSD from war. I think that's important when I say trauma. When it comes down to me saying people are traumatized by logging in and seeing the N-word, I'm not going to speak to that as a person who, it traumatized, but I can speak to the people that I'm working with, and I'm trying to overcome crises. So I'm here in Texas for that particular reason. Often I come back here for clients that are dealing with trauma or crisis type scenarios. So that's what a trauma coach is. It's somebody who works with healthcare professionals like a psychologist, a doctor, in tandem with them to help people move on after trauma. And we are experiencing a collective trauma, and other groups in this country, marginalized communities and other cultures and different ethnicities are experiencing massive levels of trauma and have for decades and generations, and we could go backwards of that. So when I talk about the trauma on this podcast, that's what I'm also talking about, is the decades back trauma that goes back to slavery and pre-Trump eras. It's not just about what's going on right now on Elon Musk. It's a bigger picture, and Monty can speak to that or someone else, but that's what a trauma coach is. I just wanted to answer that question for reference.
Yeah, I want to jump back to the original topic to in the time that we have left, the insurrection. And I'm going to say this; it's a little bit uncomfortable. So I don't want to drag it on, but here's the thing: um, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. In that document, it states that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. The people at the Capitol, did they feel like that our government was becoming destructive to them to the point where it was their right to abolish that government and institute a new one that meets their needs? Did they really feel like their election was stolen somehow and that they had a right to be there? Anyone can take that one.
I feel like they were misled. A lot of these people were misled. And the reason why we created the term Trumpyism and all of this is because he really has his own cult-like following. It's given very much so ship everybody to Brazil, like what's his name? Jim Jones type of drink the Kool-Aid type of vibe is kind of what the people who follow him behave as. So when they were told by their dear leader that this election was stolen and it was rigged and all of these people are plotting against me and these cases weren't really lost, they're just against me and they just want to take me down. Unfortunately, they were susceptible to that for reasons that we may not understand, but they believed that. So they were pushed and they were motivated and inspired to do that insurrection. And I think for some of them, it's what they really believe. I don't think it's the correct thing to believe. And I don't think that makes it right. Just because, an election didn't go your way, it doesn't mean you get to storm the Capitol and just choose your own president. But I do believe that the manipulation that Trump does is purposeful and he's aware of it. And his followers, unfortunately, fall for it every time.
They do fall for it every time, and it's a little bit owning the libs. It's a little bit valid frustration, in their minds with, look, we literally think differently on the left and the right in a lot of ways. We're wired differently from our backgrounds and, a lot of things. But at the end of the day, again, I'm speaking to those folks that I said I wanted to speak to. We got to figure this out, because this country is too valuable. I put in that, and I've said it before, my fourth great grandfather fought in the American Revolution. My second great grandfather fought in the Civil War on the blue team. And this is my country as much as it is anybody else's. I'm as patriotic as you can possibly be. And this is a great experiment. It has a lot of faults, but it's still the greatest experiment in human history for democracy. And it's valuable, and we can make it better. And we need to make it better. And we can't do that alone. We can't. We can't do it by force. We can't do it by hook or crook. We have to do it by getting along. And that is one of the reasons I like being on here, because I can be extreme about some things, but I can also really let people know, look, that, you know, we're on a continuum here, right? You know, I can go in a lot of directions. I'm not a liberal. I'm so far to the left, it'll make your head spin. However, I'm a humanitarian. I'm not a leftist. And there's a big difference.
Period.
So
right?
I messed that moment up. I love when she puts her emphasis on things. Sorry, Monty.
No, you're fine. I was just saying period.
So for me, I look at things from a more psychological standpoint. Obviously, we know that. That's what I do. The mindset of people. I won't ever understand fully the mindset of people that can double speak, can contradict themselves so much out of some of the things that they preach and then they live against and let people get away with, and the hypocrisy that I spoke of earlier. But one of the things that we saw on January 6th, if you watch those videos, is mob mentality, right? So it got worse once it was there. The reason that I hold Trump accountable personally as Kimberly is that when I watched, these people came, you know, they wanted to be there. If you've ever seen people at monster truck events or football events or whatever, you know, you've got it, you know, you want to talk about people rioting. You've got, like, you know, white boys in Kentucky fucking shit up in Tennessee because their football team didn't win. This is something that we've seen as Americans before, and it's mob mentality. When a person doesn't get these specific type of people, and they do specifically fit a specific type of demographic, y'all can guess what they look like. I can. They throw fucking fits and tantrums. And unfortunately, when you throw fits and tantrums as adults that have much more power and there's guns involved and violence involved, it's much more dangerous. So it's not like you're throwing fits online. It's not just becoming keyboard warriors for Trump anymore. He incited people to physically be violent. And that mob mentality just grows and grows when you're in person. So if you've ever been around somebody and it's, you know, it's like you get hyped up. If you played sports, they hyped you up together. That's what happened there. And this man knew that these people were there, and he told them exactly what to do. Like, take your ass down there, fight for what you think is right, fight for what is yours. And especially when you have got this narrative from the South that, you know, they've had their land taken from them, which I'm indigenous. Like, obviously I'm 50% Choctaw. I lived on reservations. My dad is 100% indigenous. Fuck y'all with the, like, we were taken and all that. It's basically, you didn't want your slaves taken. You didn't want people to tell you what you could do if it's coming from that mentality. So a lot of people we saw that had the Confederate flags and all of that were storming the Capitol, it was mob mentality from a psychological standpoint, because it was, I'm taking my best friends and I'm going over here and we're saying we're going to fucking fight for what's right. In their minds, right or wrong, they do believe that there's some level of what they did was fighting for good. And that's what's scary as fuck to me, is that they think that they're fighting for what's right, for fighting for what's good. And unfortunately, it's completely skewed, because we saw violence, we saw death, 5 deaths. And for those that scream pro police, there was police that were murdered at that insurrection. So you didn't give a fuck about those police. It's just the people that fit your agenda is what you care about. So from a psychological standpoint, you know, I'm always going to talk to the people. I came from a cult. We know that. You know, we talked about that on previous podcasts as well. So again, you've got to start thinking for yourself first. You've got to stop letting your parent, your church, your neighbor, your PTA, head of PTA, whatever, think for you. You've got to stop letting people on Twitter think for you. You've got to stop letting your Facebook friends think for you. At the end of the day, you've got to grow either a fucking, you know, heart or a pair of balls, whatever is your mentality and whatever phrasing you want to use. But you're going to have to change the way that you're looking at yourself first. So we're not going to get anywhere if we're blaming everybody else as to why things happen. And I know that goes double speak as to what I said earlier about the social media talk. I was just asked my opinion on why I think people online felt that type of way. That was a different version. But at this point, I'll end with, I think that at the end of the day, that mob mentality I talked about, the psychology of thinking that you were doing something right. The Christians do it all the time when they're pro-abortion, they're behind something right. That is leading to more dangerous things in our country. And I think that Dutch talks about this a lot when it comes to, I don't want to misrepresent his words, so please tell me if I'm wrong, but he talks about the Christians being, more dangerous than anything with their, with what they preach, and the fact that they preach that they're doing it in the name of what's right. So I think that's what we saw that day. We saw people who thought they were going there for what was right, but it also was like a pep rally to them. They thought they were going to a Taylor Swift fucking concert, really. And then they got there, and then, it was like Trump said, okay, we're at the pep rally now. Everybody's at the concert, and it didn't go our way. So you go fight for it. And I've lived in the South. I've been in the midst of the Black Panthers and the KKK in Mississippi throwing down on the square in Philadelphia. I can tell you that it's something that you can't imagine unless you're watching it in real life, and you're in that perspective of seeing how people are fighting from passion that they believe is right. So to answer your question, Dino, from a legal standpoint, or the Constitution, or whatever they felt they were protecting or whatever, I don't know that anybody could actually stand behind that. But I do think deep down, they believe that they were right. And that's really what it always comes down to, is that we're fighting for what's right. And I don't know where we get with that. That's the question I would pose to everybody, is what does that look like if we're trying to figure this out? How are we going to reach people that think that they are right? And how are we going to change the minds of people that don't have access to anything outside of these thought bubbles that they're in, and the mob mentality that we saw that day? So, I don't really have an answer for it, but I just wanted to give my perspective from a psychological standpoint. It's dangerous.
That's absolutely right. Well, to quote a Capitol rioter by the name of Tim Gionette, who's also known on the internet as Baked Alaska, he says, "I can't believe I'm going to jail for an NFT salesman." Rev?
Yes, I had to let that soak in. You know what? This was a phenomenal show, everybody. For Kimberly K, Dino Moore, Amani Wells, and myself, wow. Folks, if we do a raid, I'm not sure. Somebody's getting a bath right now. But if we do a raid, say hello from us. Thank you for all joining us. And we'll see you next Tuesday, same place, approximately the same time. And we'll see you next week.